All right, happy Monday. It's September the 11th. I think you're going to appreciate the verse this week. First of all, it's one verse, and if you've been a part of worship or church or been a Christian for a while, you'll know this verse, and so there's no need to really memorize it this week. Here we go. You ready? John 3, yes, you're right, 16. For God loved the world in this way. He gave His one and only Son so that everyone who believes in Him will not perish, but have eternal life. It's familiar, right? This is John chapter 3. We were just in John chapter 3, verses 5 through 8, and still this is Jesus and Nicodemus in conversation. Jesus is explaining to Nicodemus what it means to be born again, that God loved Nicodemus so much. But more than that, God loved the whole world so much that He gave His only Son. See, the simplest statement of the gospel is John 3:16. We see this statement, people hold it up on placards at football games. And people who don't even know Jesus can quote this verse. You see, Jesus connects God's love with the Hebrew people, but also the rest of the world. When we read John chapter 3 and read it all the way through, we see where Jesus talks about Moses lifting up the serpent in the wilderness. And see, that was a faith salvation right there. If the people would only look upon the serpent, they would be healed from the serpent bites. So Jesus connects Hebrew history with His being lifted up in the crucifixion. You look to the serpent, you get healed. You look to Jesus, you get spiritually healed. See, the word "for" leads this verse out. So it's connecting us with what Jesus has said prior to this. It's reminding us of the serpent. Jesus points out His being ultimately lifted up. To be lifted up between earth and heaven. Jesus on the cross. For God so loved. See, Jesus is telling us why. Jesus is telling us why God acted in the wilderness with His people in the wandering after the snake bites. But Jesus tells us why God lifted His only Son up. It's because of love. It's because of God's love that He has made. He makes a way for salvation. John 3:16, for God loved the world in this way. He gave His one and only Son so that everyone who believes in Him will not perish, but have eternal life. See you tomorrow.